and welcome here to Talk FCB, and welcome back here to the channel, guys, for another video. We will be reviewing the game between Barcelona and Getafe here on the channel today. And I have to say, guys, coming into this one, I was expecting goals for sure, absolutely for sure. I was expecting maybe some defensive mistakes. Obviously, we got a lot of problems at centre-back. Mina and Digne started the game, but this is not what I was expecting. A 0-0 against Getafe at home, dropping yet more points. And it wasn't just the fact that we dropped points today, because like I said it on Twitter a few minutes ago, if we'd have drawn this game 2-2 and we'd have scored goals and then we conceded them because obviously at the back it was disorganised, they weren't really used to playing with each other, that would have been fine, because at the end of the day we've got suspensions, we've got injuries, it's disappointing timing and we had to throw it all together. But today it wasn't about that. It wasn't that we were bad at the back, it wasn't that we conceded goals, it was just simply a very bad performance attacking wise in midfield. We created nothing, no real good chances created today, and it was absolutely toothless. And that's the way that I would describe this performance, absolutely toothless, because for me there was no cutting edge, there was absolutely no urgency. Now the thing is, if this was just one game, given the season we've had, we've been very good in the league, of course we're still unbeaten, we've got to remember that, we've got to acknowledge that a lot of the work that's been done this season has been very, very good, but you also have to acknowledge this isn't just one game, this is not just a bad performance from one game, this, to be honest, has been coming in the past few weeks. You've got to look back at the performances last weekend. Obviously the pitch was a concern, but we still didn't play well. We dropped points against Espanyol. And then even before that, following the games against Sociedad and Betis, where we were so brilliant, we went back to being this passive team that didn't really have a lot of cutting edge, not a lot of desire. You think of the game at home against Alaves, a late Lionel Messi free kick rescued us in that game. We then lost, of course, away in the Copa del Rey against Espanyol. We scraped through against Valencia in that first leg. It has been a case where in the first half of games, we have been very, very slow, very predictable, very passive, and then we've stepped it up. Today, we wasn't able to do that. We were very poor in the first half, we created next to nothing, and in the second half, we failed to get any better. It was as simple as that today. I think right from the start today, it was a very, very poor performance, and it needs to be looked at, and it certainly needs to be rectified. And in some ways, you can look at the selection. Obviously, like I say, Valverde was very limited what he could do at the back, and that wasn't really our problem today. The problem for me, once again, was maybe the case there was a lot of attacking players on the pitch, and I think, to be honest, the system today was not really known what we were supposed to be doing. And I look at Paco Alcácer in the position that he was playing as a sort of right winger, again, not really a position that suits him, and I have to look at this and say, are we playing 4-4-2? Are we playing 4-4-3? And I think at times the players are genuinely a bit confused of what sort of system we're playing, because when we're 4-4-2, we're very rigid, we're very compact, you've got the midfield there getting their control, and when we're 4-3-3, we're a lot more attacking, we create a lot more chances, and I think today it was simply, what one are we doing? Where exactly is Coutinho playing? What sort of position should he be taking up? Is he a wide midfielder on the left? Is he a bit more withdrawn in the centre? Is Paco Alcácer playing next to Suarez? Is he playing off the right? And I think in general in that first half, there was a genuine uncertainty really of where everybody was supposed to be, what sort of system we were deploying, how we were supposed to be playing. And I think that was really seen in the fact we literally created absolutely nothing in that first half. The best chances in this entire game were chances that we had which were flagged offside. Luis Suarez scored an absolute wonder goal, but it was rightly flagged offside. Lionel Messi was picking the ball up in some areas, and I think, to be honest, the system does at times really impact badly on Messi, simply because he doesn't really have a set position. We know that he likes to float around, but if we're playing 4-3-3, he knows that he's either playing false 9 or he's playing off the right hand side. If we're playing 4-4-2, he knows that he's got that central area next to Luis Suarez. But when we're sort of in a mix between the two, Lionel Messi isn't really picking the ball up as often as we like. He's having to drop in at times and get it, and it just doesn't really seem that set right now in our ideas. And that's the thing with Valverde. So far, it has been absolutely brilliant under him. You know, we had some great results. We've been flying in the league. We're still in the Champions League, of course, Copa del Rey final. But that flexibility, that different variation of the formation, which has worked so well, at times you've got to sit yourself down and say, this is the idea, this is the plan. You've got to make it known to everybody, and then you can really stick to it and die with it. But today, I really didn't feel like that was the case. We didn't look like we knew what we were doing. The attacking play was appalling. There was no combinations. There was no sync with our runs in behind. Nobody really knew what sort of runs each other were going to make. And I just think the whole thing today was very, very disorientated, right from the back as well, because Getafe today missed some good chances. They really, really did. At times, going forward, they looked like a good score. They had a few chances on goal. Ter Stegen made a few saves. They put a few over, a few wide, and they really could have scored today. And if they had scored, I don't think I would have seen a way back, because we did not look scoring. The biggest threat that we posed today on Getafe's goal was Yerry Mina. Simple as that. He was the biggest threat from corners and from free kicks. And what I would say about this is, I think in this kind of game, you've got to go gung-ho a bit, because obviously everybody talks about Luis Enrique, the style, of course, that he implemented at Barca. A lot of people think badly of that right now, but you've got to remember at the start of Luis Enrique's reign, we had the front three, we had the firepower up front, and although Luis Enrique's methods did not work consistently, I'm not saying that they do, and I'm not saying you need to adopt them in every single game, but in games like this, at home, against very simple opposition, you can go and play your attacking players all in their best positions, and you can go and give Getafe everything we've got. Because if we'd have outgunned them today, if it would have been 4-2, 5-3, we saw Real Madrid yesterday play against Real Sociedad, and they just outscored them. It wasn't brilliant to watch, but at the end of the day, in these kind of games, especially with the defensive problems we had today, we could have just gone, you know what, we're going to go for it. I just think in the way that we approached the game today, in the passive passing, you know, the predictable passing, Getafe just sat in and they thought, you know what, we're absolutely fine. We're not worried about the passing, going from left to right, going back. We're just going to sit here, we're going to stay in our shape, we're going to stay very organised. We're not worried about that because, of course, they were all very happy with 0-0. And I just think we needed to go for it a bit more. Put your attacking players out there. It doesn't need to be all about the possession all the time. In a lot of games, it works phenomenally. You go away to Valencia and you play that kind of way, you'll wear them down. They'll get impatient, they'll try and come out, and you'll hit them hard. You play it away against Real Madrid again. Eventually, you'll wear them down with that style of play, with that kind of control. You'll compress them, you'll suck them in, and you'll get there in the end. But I just think at home, against Getafe, when you've got Coutinho on the pitch, when you've got Luis Suarez, when you've got Lionel Messi, you can outscore the opponent. And that's the real issue for me today. Like I say, if we'd have conceded a number of goals and drawn this game 2-2 or 3-3, you could have said, you know what, we've got defensive problems. Fair enough. But we didn't even try and do that today. There was no effort at all to score the goals. There was no effort at all to create the chances to get us over the line. We didn't do that today, and that's what's so disappointing. It was a really bad performance at the Camp Nou in front of a really good attendance today. You've got to give credit to them. I've said about it in the past, people not turning up. Today, not the case at all. 75,000 in the stadium today, a really good attendance, and what exactly were they treated to today? It wasn't good to watch, even though we dominated the ball. We did it in all the wrong areas. Down the right-hand side, down the left-hand side, Getafe gave us enormous space, but we were yet to really have an impact in those kind of areas. And what I would say about this is, I've been banging on about it every single game, and we might try it, and maybe it won't work out. But all I would say is, if you played Semedo at right back today, and you played Roberto ahead of him in midfield, we would have absolutely destroyed Getafe down that right-hand side. Because all game long, they gave us enormous space in those wider areas. Paco Alcácer couldn't really do anything with it. He was not suited to playing on that right-hand side. But I guarantee you, you put Semedo there, he'll be up and down, he'll be forcing them wide, and then you've got Roberto in that midfield position where he can pick the ball up, he can make driving runs in behind, he can really cut the lines, he can really open up some spaces. And I just think Roberto, in those kind of areas, in these kind of games, why not try it? Why not at least take a bit of a risk? And that was the thing today for me. Against Getafe at home, it was far too cautious. There was no risk taken, and I just don't really understand why. Because for me, from the outside looking in, this is a game that we should be winning. I spoke about it in the preview yesterday. Our last two meetings against Getafe at the Camp Nou, 6-0, 6-0. Simple as that. Getafe are having a decent season. Credit to them. Like I say today, they did pose a threat, but this is a game that we know we should be winning, and at the very, very least, we should be scoring. And as it is right now, we are 7 points clear of Atletico Madrid. We're also 17 points clear of Real Madrid in third. So in terms of the title race, we're still very much on track. Take nothing away from our season so far. I'm not taking away any of the fantastic results we've had. And all I'm saying is we need to have a look at things, because I spoke about the Alaves game. We just about scraped through that one. We lost to Espanyol in the Copa del Rey. We dropped points there in La Liga just last weekend. So our last two league games, we've dropped points in both of them. We can't really continue at that rate. We've got a very difficult game away at Eibar next week, just before the Chelsea game. And this is the kind of run in the season where you don't want to be dropping points and losing confidence. This is the most important part of our season. So we need to make sure that we're getting everything absolutely right. And I just felt today like there was a real lack of cutting edge, a lack of urgency, and it just really didn't inspire anybody. The stadium was flat, the passing was flat, the play was flat, and no risks at all were taken on this day by Valverde, by the team, and I think we must do more if we're going to go forward and achieve the things that we deserve to do this season. Because like we've said already, we're still unbeaten in the league, we're still in the Copa del Rey final, we're still in the Champions League, and we're doing absolutely fine. No one's taking anything away from that, but we deserve to now go on and challenge for all these trophies. But to do that, we're going to have to raise our level, and we're going to have to really establish what system we're going to go with. We've got Dembele back now. He came off the bench. I'm going to be going into all of those performances and more in the videos that follow this one. But I just wanted to give you my immediate thoughts on my reaction from the game, how exactly I felt following that performance, and it just left me feeling a bit flat. That's what it was today. It was a toothless display, which for me left the entire stadium and myself just feeling a bit flat, a bit let down, and just not really what we want to be seeing from a Barcelona side. So maybe in the heat of the moment after the game, maybe I've got things wrong, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, but like I say, this isn't just about this game. I've felt for a few weeks now we've been dropping in our level. It hasn't quite been the same intensity that we've seen from Valverde and his team. We've been so good this season. I just don't want to see that go downhill in the coming months, which are so important to securing a very good season. So leave all your thoughts in your comments down below, guys. Like I say, if you do disagree with anything, please let me know. If you agree as well, let me know your points and what you felt following this game. I will see you very shortly indeed. I'll have more videos coming up with reaction from today's game against Getafe. Sadly, it is a 0-0 draw. Hopefully, we can pick ourselves up and go again very soon indeed. I'll see you soon, but until then, as always, Vesca El Barça!